Alright, John Salisbury here with Athlete Training Systems. We're down at the facility today and we're making our own weightlifting platform. First, materials you need. You need 5 8-foot by 4-foot 18mm thick sheets of plywood. These are just structural plywood. And next, you need a big tub of PVA. This is going to be used to seal the plywood so it doesn't deteriorate over time. Then, to glue the sheets together, some weatherproof wood adhesive. We've got 2 litres of that. Then we've got 40 brass screws, 1.5 inches thick. Then we have 2 sets of rubber mats. These are 6-foot by 4-foot. Ideally you'd want 8-foot by 4-foot, the same as the plywood, but in Britain they're pretty hard to get hold of. First step is what you want to do is you want to find a space where you want to put it that's level, and then we'll start sealing the first 2 sets of plywood sheets. Right, as you can see, I've now laid 2 sheets of plywood down and I've put the first layer of PVA in. What I've done is I've watered the PVA glue down, so you can see it's a very watery texture now. The reason I've done that is so that it actually seeps into the wood and doesn't just sit on top and form a see-through layer over the top. What you need to do now is leave it to dry, and this can take up to an hour depending on how much water you've put in. So after that I'll come back, flip these boards over and then start laying the next set on. Right, now I've let the PVA dry and I've flipped the boards over so the underside of them is sealed. The next stage, what I'm going to do is lay the next 2 sheets on top. Now this next bit's important. You see the sheets at the moment are going up and down the garage, and what you want to do is put the next 2 sheets left and right, so across the ways rather than up and down. This will maximise the strength of the board, which obviously is what you want. So what I'll do is lay the glue down and then Right, so what I've done here is I've laid the wood adhesive down, done it in a zigzag fashion, and when you lay the boards down it'll compress the glue and really make it stick into the 2 boards. So what I'm going to do now is lay the next 2 boards down perpendicular to where the other ones are going, and I'll let you know how it goes. Right, that's the next 2 sheets on. As you can see, I've got lots of weights down. This is to just kind of try and keep an even pressure on the boards so that the glue sets in really nice. What I've also done is I've used those brass screws, as you can see there, and I've evenly spaced them out along the board, around the edge of the board. So there's 20 in there, evenly spaced around. Just make sure you've got 1 screw in each corner of the board, so there should be in total 8 screws in a corner somewhere, and then just arrange the rest evenly spread out along the side. So what I'm going to do now is, as it's all screwed down, I can just crack on with the next bit. So the next bit is putting the final board in. This bit's a bit tricky. What I've done now is I've already selected this board on the other side to be the top board, because I thought that was the best board. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to make sure that when we put the rubber on, it's going to be even on both sides. So what I'm going to do is mark out up and down on this, where the end of the rubber is going to be, so that I can get this board exactly in the middle, and I'll update you once I get. Right, that's me marked everything out now. So as you can see, all I did was take 2-foot measurements from the side, and use the final board to draw a straight line all the way up. So what I'm going to do now is fill that up, glue it down, and then put screws in it. Make sure you only put screws in the 2 ends, because you don't want screws up the middle, because that's where your feet are going to go when you start lifting. I'll give you an update once that's done. Right, as you can see, this final board is now in place. What I've done, obviously glued it down and screwed it in. There's 3 screws in each end, so totaling 6 more screws, and none up the middle. As you can see with these ones, I've countersunk these so you don't catch, the skin of your feet or your socks or whatever you're wearing while you're using the platform. So what's left to do is wait for all this to set, which will take about an hour with this glue. Then to coat it in PVA to just give it that little bit of protection against the elements, and from us, a bit more from us using it. So what I'm going to do in the meantime is cut these two stall mats, rubber mats. Best way to do that is to literally just line up against an edge of the platform and use that to cut it. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Right, so as you can see, what I've done here is I've lined one end of the rubber matting up against the middle sheet of plywood, and so then there's an overhang on the other end. And simply what you do is you get yourself a jigsaw and you use the outer line of the platform to cut a straight line down the centre of the rubber matting. And then, you know, as if your measurements were correct earlier, each side of the platform should be 2 foot wide. Or to be fair, if it works out that one side slightly bigger than the other, then you'll just end up cutting one bit of rubber matting slightly bigger than the other. So just use that to cut a straight line down the centre of the matting, and then from there that gets you your two halves. Just make sure, obviously if you're using a jigsaw and rubber, the friction is quite high, so just make sure you use a lot of WD-48 so you don't just start melting the rubber. Right, as you can see, the two, I've cut all the rubber strips now, so I've got one small square of rubber and then one length on both sides, and as you can see from the far side, it fits in nicely. The glue for the top sheet is also set, so what we're going to do now is PVA the top of that just to seal it. Make sure you PVA the whole top surface, even the stuff under the rubber matting, just in case any dust or water gets under there, and do all the way around the edge. So I'll get back to you once I've done that. Right, as you can see, that's the platform finished, pretty much. We're just waiting for the rubber to stay glued down and wait for the PVA on the top to dry, and then we're going to do a bit of our own personalization. We're going to paint it, do a bit of a paint job on it. So we'll show you the finished product once it's done. Apart from that, it's turned out really well. The only minor thing is, as I couldn't get rubber matting in 8 foot by 4 foot, there is a slight seam, but we're going to put the rack in up there so it won't look as bad. Right, I'll show you the finished article. Alright, so it's been a few months now since we made the platform. We've now finished off all the paint, got the rack on it, been using it for a while. As you can see here, got the rack on there with the plates either side, and it's been fairly battered by now. It's held up pretty well for a couple of months. One thing we did do is we added in nails just on the rubber here, having them in really hard so you can't catch anything on them, just to stop it from slipping, give it that extra bit of grip. So that's the finished platform. Works really well, really well. All our clients like it, and holds together well. So that's how you make your platform, and good luck.